Hello friends, I am Jonathan Pishner with Apex Counseling, and today we are starting a new video series. It is currently September. It is National Suicide Prevention Month, and so it is a perfect time to tackle what is probably one of the most important subjects I can possibly put out videos on around the subject of mental health. So as we intro our series today, the thing that I want to talk about is why people commit suicide, why people have suicidal thoughts, and use that to set the stage for our future videos. Because really, when it comes to suicide, the thing that is important to understand is when the why of it, even if it looks different on the surface, it's always exactly the same reason underneath. And here's the reason. You have a person who is in intense emotional pain. They don't know how to solve that pain, and they think that pain is never going to end. That's always the reason. Now, on the surface of it, it can look different. It can look, oh man, I lost my job and it feels like I've ruined my life, or my family left me, or there's so many reasons. And sometimes it's not just one. Sometimes it's many reasons built up over years. Like, oh, I can't, I missed this goal, or I can't get these things I want. But if you look under the surface, it's always the same. Intense emotional pain that's unendurable. Person thinks it's unsolvable or can't figure it out, and it looks like it's going to last forever. That's always it. And that's desperately important information for both the person who might be having suicidal thoughts and for the loved ones who might be looking to be supportive to someone, because understanding that will help put in context some of our future information. But even just if this is the only video on it you see, if you're the person who's potentially having suicidal thoughts, understanding that it's not the event, that it's the resulting emotional pain, it is important and useful. Because one of the things about that is the emotional pain is almost always solvable. In the counseling office, that's what we do all day long, is we work on ways to solve people's emotional pain. It's almost always got a finish line. If we can just get a person across the finish line. The unendurableness, that's hard for a lot of people, because if the pain is very, very intense, it's hard for them to navigate that. But if you're the person with suicidal thoughts, let me tell you that it's almost always solvable. So my advice is always going to be, if you're having suicidal thoughts, if you've got a plan, get with a licensed clinician, and reach out to your loved ones. Let them know, because while you're resolving the emotional pain part, they can at least help you get through the day-to-day. So if you're the person with the emotional pain, reach out to people, because it is solvable both in the long term and the temporary. You can do things day to day to help yourself get through it. But if you're the loved one, it's also important to understand, because a lot of times we as the loved ones get caught up in, if we know somebody's having a depression, especially if we know they're having suicidal thoughts, if we're not in tune with the fact that this is just emotional pain, it's easy for us to try and be helpful in the wrong ways. It's easy for us to even make it about us. Like, well, why would you think of doing that? Think of what that'll do to your family. And that may or may not be a helpful thing to say, but the thing, if I'm going to give advice just off of this to the loved ones, is trying to be in touch and in tune with the fact that here you have a person in intense emotional pain, and what you're trying to do as the loved one is help them just day to day navigate that intense emotional pain. You don't have to solve it, because you're not qualified. That's the job of the clinician. But your job is just as important, which is helping them get through the day to day just by being there for them. So if we're talking to the person who's the loved one, please don't underestimate your importance. It's just important for you to know that it's intense emotional pain that somebody's experiencing, and they don't know how to solve it. So, but in terms of why do people commit suicide? That's the reason, all bundled up in a nutshell. It comes in different forms and flavors and different coats of paint on it, but down at the bottom, it's always that intense emotional pain that the person hasn't been able to solve, that looks like it's going to last forever, or at least just longer than the person can tolerate. That's always the reason. So hopefully this quick snippet of information is useful, but using this, it'll help put our other videos in context. So I look forward to putting out some videos around this. And man, if we do this and it just helps one person not commit suicide and get the help and get their life turned around, then the whole thing was worth it. So thank you for listening to me for a few minutes today. I am Jonathan Pishner with Apex Counseling, and I will see you in our video series.